Well, don't blame the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi is saying it's the voice of the people at these kind of hearings and town halls, raging about what Republicans are trying to do with the Affordable Care Act that ultimately got the Republicans on retreat. Is she right? Was that a factor? Washington Examiner, White House correspondent Sarah Westwood. Sarah, what are you hearing?
Well, look, I think that Democrats no longer feel like they own the failure of Obamacare. That's clear in their statements today about how the Republican attempt at repealing the Affordable Care Act has failed. So they're content, as far as the Democrats are concerned, to sit back and let Obamacare implode, just like the president is implying. They can keep proposing unworkable solutions like expanding subsidies, expanding Medicaid, doubling down on this idea of big government in health care that they know will never attract Republican votes, but that allows them to claim that they're attempting to be bipartisan while pointing to Republican rejection of those ideas as a factor in why the health care system is so bad.
What's winning in this silly little childish back and forth? Because you think about it, Sarah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of skittishness over the Affordable Care Act itself. Then along come Republicans with a variety of proposals that never caught on and got even worse ratings than the Affordable Care Act. But it's not as if either is running off to the popularity charts, right?
Exactly. So from the Republicans' perspective, what they want to do is keep drawing attention to the failures of the Affordable Care Act, the fact that premiums are rising and choices are falling. Democrats want to paper over those failures. They want to point
Sarah,
out
wouldn't that be on who's ever, whether it's fair or not, on who's ever in power? And they're going to take it out on the White House Republicans, right?
Exactly. Democrats are banking on that. They're banking on the fact that voters are going to hold Republicans accountable for Obamacare, not only because the administration is likely not going to take the administrative actions that it will take to keep the Obamacare insurance markets propped up for the next year, but because Republicans tried and failed to fix it on their own. And so far, they've rejected all of the Democratic suggestions for how to fix Obamacare. It's hard to see where a middle ground would be. Republicans and Democrats are so far apart, but clearly this strategy of trying to just pin the blame on Democrats while sitting back and letting the system slowly collapse on its own is not necessarily going to pay off for Republicans, and all eyes right now are on 2018.
Yeah, you know, I heard one operative say that, a Republican operative say that we should have done that from the outset. We should have gone immediately into tax cuts, forget about this. But it was such a key central campaign point that they could not do it. But now here they are pivoting and moving on to tax cuts. What's the word on how that's going to go?
Well, conservatives are already being lined up to defend the White House's plan on tax cuts. I think this is an area where President Trump came in with a lot of prior knowledge of what he wanted to do, how the system worked, whereas health care was sort of a new and foreign concept to him. So the White House is reportedly taking more of a leadership role in what the tax reform legislation should look like. The only problem is that Republicans on Capitol Hill were counting on the savings from an Obamacare repeal bill to get tax reform passed, and there's still disagreements about whether the changes would be permanent, whether they would sunset after a certain time frame. So the details are not completely ironed out, and the situation is made all the more complicated by the fact that it looks like there will be no baseline savings from an Obamacare repeal bill.
Yeah, so that could limit the size of whatever tax cuts you are planning, potentially. Sarah Westwood, the Washington Examiner. Good seeing you again. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
All right, President Trump is threatening Venezuela with some sanctions if Venezuela's president, some call him a dictator at this point, goes along with this power grab.